It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
Now, you can't live in Texas and not have a good red meat blend. Texas Cowboy Dust is designed for steak and other red meats. It's out to be my most popular spice blend, made with onions, peppers, ground mushrooms, pink salt, and other spices. Texas Cowboy Dust also goes great with chicken, pork, vegetables, and adds a restaurant-quality sheen to gravies and sauces.
It's like a loop machine. Going around town, people trying to get down.
Vanilla smoked sea salt seasoning is for seafood. The tarragon and fennel bring out the natural sweetness in seafood. I also use it in rice dishes, on yams, asparagus, blueberry pancakes, and believe it or not, chocolate chip cookies. Vanilla smoked sea salt adds a salty and savory component to sweet dishes that create a symphony for the tongue.
Sugar Chateau Desserts is a specialty bakery located in the Charlotte, North Carolina metro area. We will create delicious and one-of-a-kind treats for any occasion. Sugar Chateau is currently shipping cakes in a jar, offering a variety of different flavors in a single-serve container that can help you celebrate in accordance with social distancing. Place your orders today by calling 803-526-7895 or visiting sugarchateaudesserts.com.
True Black Essentials is a retail opportunity to bring Black businesses under one roof where every product on every shelf in every aisle will be Black owned and Black produced by people all over the world. Statistics show that the $1.3 trillion of spending power that we have as Black people can easily be turned into each Black person having $2 billion if we were to shop Black for 2 years. So True Black Essentials will launch an e-commerce store on November 1st, 2020, but we will open up brick and mortar stores in Atlanta, New Orleans, Charlotte, Houston, and Jacksonville, with the very first store opening in Atlanta, June 19, 2021.
I'm attorney Clinton Paris, and Tampa's my community. I grew up here, went to school here, and my wife and I make our home here. What makes Tampa special are its people. So when I represent someone injured in my community, it's personal. Call my office and speak to a real lawyer and not some referral service. I will fight the insurance companies to get the settlement that you deserve. At the law office of Clinton Paris, we take the pain out of being heard.
This is Brian Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Lab. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Lab, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
With your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
Now, you can't live in Texas and not have a good red meat blend. Texas Cowboy Dust is designed for steak and other red meats. It's out to be my most popular spice blend, made with onions, peppers, ground mushrooms, pink salt, and other spices. Texas Cowboy Dust also goes great with chicken, pork, vegetables, and adds a restaurant-quality sheen to gravies and sauces.
It's like a loop machine. Going around town, people trying to get down.
Vanilla smoked sea salt seasoning is for seafood. The tarragon and fennel bring out the natural sweetness in seafood. I also use it in rice dishes, on yams, asparagus, blueberry pancakes, and believe it or not, chocolate chip cookies. Vanilla smoked sea salt adds a salty and savory component to sweet dishes that create a symphony for the tongue.
YT Productions.
Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won. Yeah. I hope my team they won. Yeah. Man, I hope my team they won. I hope my team they won. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball, So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson. And you gon' learn today, how your team they play, how they play, boy, you gon' learn today, how your team they play, how they play, yeah. We represent that swag, that MEAC, and let me say, what's up to Tennessee, stay, tune into the HBCU Sports Lab.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Mike is back out on assignment, but I have Charles Bishop in the studio getting us ready to go. How you doing today, Charles?
Doing well, Dr. Cavil. We got a lot of great news to get into today. Very good show. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, you sure right. I'm not sure if we get it all in today, but that's the good thing. We have a show on Thursday. And we will be live. This one is taped. This is a special one. So we're going to tape it to make sure that we get it to you all proper. So tune in. By the time you're seeing this, you'll be seeing it running live. A little later, we'll be resting and smiling and making sure that we did it properly for you. So this is welcome to episode 147 on Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast, the show that's covering and supporting HBCU diets for all things HBCU sports, from institutions large and small, from NAIA to the NCAA. We share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs and the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, along with my co-host, Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. We are filming from our home studios and sending a signal to KSUH 1230, or like we usually do. We won't do that today, but we'll be back into that on Wednesday. But we still have the Texas Radio Hall of Famer, Ralph Cooper, that we give our shout outs to. And this is the beautiful home of Texas Southern University, because we're right here from Houston, Texas. Today's episode of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab is sponsored by THG Agency, LLC. THG Agency is a company that provides sporting and educational consulting and data analytics. With that, Charles, we should have a big one today, man.
Definitely.
What do you say? How's it going for you?
Not bad at all. I can't wait to get into some of this news. We got quite a bit going on in the HBCU universe, so can't wait to kind of tap into a little bit of it, Doc.
Well, let's start it off. Where you want to go first? I guess it's hard not to go with A&T Aggies, but I'm gonna press the brake a little bit, man. They get spoiled a little bit. Let me go out direction, put this on the table, and then we'll get a chance to get those accolades to North Carolina A&T. In fact, let me take it back. That was just a tease. That's a tease. Let's go ahead and talk about the performance of the Aggies. That's the men's program, track and field program, and the women's program. Obviously, you had them win championship, finished third on the men's side, tied for fourth on the women's side. You're talking about some of the highest finishes at the Division I level since HBCU programs were brought into it. Obviously, you had Texas Southern's women's program finished third in the 80s, 86. 89 to be exact in terms of that. Diane Weber, shout out to Diane Weber that was running across during those days. LSU, I mean, she was getting done, multiple races that she ran in, and actually got a chance to go to the Olympics.
Olympian.
That's big time. So she represented for Texas Southern Flying Tigers. One of the last times you've seen an HBCU program did that. I want to give a shout out to the rivals of North Carolina A&T, North Carolina Central Eagles, the men's program, when they finished fourth in a three-way tie years around that time frame, getting it done in a lot of ways. So you talking about excellence in so many different ways. It's amazing when you think about it. Before we put a pin on it, let me get your thoughts, and then we'll run the video clip.
I think the big thing that jumps out for me is historic. When you're talking about North Carolina A&T finishing third in the team standings, and I know that was a huge milestone for the university and for this track program to elevate itself to really be on the standings, if you will, for the team standings. So I'm just so proud of it. I don't think I knew anybody who was not watching North Carolina A&T run this past weekend. I think everybody was tuned in when Cambrea Sturgis was out there running the 100 and 200. So I'm just proud. I think it made you really, really proud as a HBCU fan to watch what they were able to do over the weekend. So it was huge. And you're talking about history made. And, you know, you talk about the connection with Diane Weber in the '84 Olympics, going all the way back then. So it's huge. You know, it just makes you proud as a fan of HBCU athletics.
No doubt about it. So much history there. Well, let's run the clip. We're going to get into it. We're going to have Duane Ross Jr. in terms of what he did to bring home 2 championships, one solo in terms of the 400. His teammate, Aggie, also got it done in terms of finishing right outside of the top 3, fourth. But in terms of the 4x4, he was part of that, and they also won a championship there. And then you have Cambrea Sturgis, first time for any HBCU in terms on the women's side. She won a championship for the 100, then did the double-double to do it at the 200. So if you would, go ahead and run the clip, Roy.
Meet the 4x400 relay. The Trojans have the meet and the collegiate record from that amazing 2018 team with Ry Benjamin and Michael Norman on it. And we are looking at a team that has the 3rd best time in collegiate history, North Carolina A&T.
Well, the question is, can North Carolina A&T do what the USC Trojans did back in 2018, and that was to win the Open 400 and the 4x4.
4x400 relay is religion in College Station.
I'm all the way on the front. We both are.
On the inside, Baylor, Florida, Stephen F. Austin, then Iowa, Texas A&M in 5, North Carolina A&T in 6, then Southern California, Kentucky, and Arizona on the outside.
Talking to Duane Ross this morning, I said, how game is Daniel Stokes? He's a 100-meter, 200-meter guy who steps up for this relay for them. He said he's been all over a couple of junior colleges, and he lands at North Carolina A&T, but he gives everything he absolutely can each and every time he gets that baton, and he is having a great opening run for the Aggies.
So is Nicholas Ramey for Southern Cal, and on the outside, Maj Williams for Arizona. Who's going to pass first? It's the Trojans. And they will run Brian Herring on second leg. Down on the inside now in lane 2, Florida doing a great job. Ryan Willie led off. This is Chance Sawyers. Who's going to get the pole? It looks like the Trojans from here. It is. Trojans, Florida, A&T, who has Randolph Ross, who won the Open 400 and is now in the lead.
Well, in a matter of 120 meters, Randolph Ross takes that team from 6th all the way to the lead. He's showing that 400-meter championship speed.
He ran the second fastest 400 meters at this meet ever, and the third fastest is in collegiate history. So A&T now with Akeem Sirleaf in the lead. The Trojans with Cameron Samuel. Remember, Isaiah Jewett said, make no mistake, I will be on the anchor.
Randolph Ross 43.6 on that baton carry.
Florida in third still with Denzel Villeman. And then A&M sneaking in there in fourth place, Amajua Atewi. Their 800-meter specialist. A&T passes first to Trevor Stewart.
And Trevor Stewart paid special attention and made sure he had the baton in his hand before he turned his head. Didn't want to make any mistakes here. He's been the anchor for them both indoors and outdoors all season long.
Jewett, the 800-meter champion for the Trojans on anchor. Here comes Devin Dixon, the tall countenance of the senior. His final race for the Aggies. Aggies in first, Aggies in second. This is Bryce Dedman. I'm sorry, Dedman is on the anchor. He was second in the 400 flat. Can he catch Trevor Stewart's too big a gap? And here comes, is this Stephen F. Austin? No, Kentucky on the outside. I can't see the number. No, it's Austin, just like I thought first. Amazing close on the anchor. 44-12. 43-45 for Austin. Ahmad Robinson. 43-45 on anchor to bring the Lumberjacks up to second place. A&T runs 3 flat 92 for the victory. Dedman brings it back in 44-12. A&M gets third. USC drops to fourth with a 45-20.
400-meter dash, 1 lap around. As always, a strong field, NCAA champ, and the championship record right here. Michael Norman on a cool, rainy day, and he came through in a remarkable time. There you take a look at Randolph Ross. I saw him in the elevator this morning and immediately called him Ronald. So a bit of a false start by me, because really everybody needs to know Randolph and his dad Duane and NCA&T.
Like going home, like going downstairs, you in the basement, you see his uniforms, USA uniforms, the Clemson pictures, the interviews and everything. Seeing how far he got in track and field, and it kind of inspires you to do it yourself.
He said to me, I think it's important that, we keep our family legacy going. His ceiling is extremely high for him, and he has set the goal himself. He comes to me and he talks about his goals. But one thing I try to instill in him is that, hey, you make your goals, man. I'm here to support and help you reach those.
We ran 3 flat in our opener, and then ever since then, we've been working together, training, and going for the NCAA record. As a whole, we rely on everybody. Everybody's got to do their part. The record is 259 flat, and it's not going to come easy unless everybody runs well.
I mean, what can I say? I'm incredibly proud of him.
Proud of his son, Randolph Ross, and proud of all the guys in that NCA&T program. The 400 usually the domain of the SEC, but NCA&T, Dwight, Dan, these guys are legit fast.
Well, they certainly are, and right next to Randolph Ross, just 1 lane behind him, that's Trevor Stewart. He is having one heck of a season as well, runs the anchor leg for that great 4x4 team. But Duane Ross, coach of North Carolina A&T, believes that his son and Trevor here can sweep this 1-2. They can go 1-2, but they've got to keep an eye out for the LSU youngster on the outside who qualified like Terrence Laird. Dwight qualified a little bit slower, so he's out in lane 8. But this has been your national leader all year long, Noah Williams, ranked number 2 in the world this season.
And Dan, this race has huge team implications. If Noah Williams can win this, it's going to make it very, very tough for Oregon to mount an assault. They'd have to win pretty much everything that they have left. And there are your lane assignments with the two North Carolina A&T runners in the middle of the track. Dwight St. Hilaire of Kentucky, who is unpredictable in the way he's run this year. He looked really good in the prelims the other day on the relay, but not so great in the flat 400. And Noah Williams being out in lane 8. I believe he had an outside lane draw at the SEC championships in the prelims, and it didn't bother him at all. So let's see how this race will pan out. It's certainly an advantage for the two North Carolina A&T athletes, Stewart and Ross, to have Williams out there in lane 8. Keep an eye on him closely and use him as a rabbit.
Well, the three guys in lane 6, 7, and 8, they like to push early on in this race. Noah Williams really loves to get out hard. Randolph Ross, he goes out, and so does Tyler Johnson. But Trevor Stewart, he likes to wait and move at about the 200-meter mark.
From the inside, Bluth of BYU, Bailey of UTEP, then Bryce Dedman, the scene from A&M. Dwight St. Hilaire, then Stewart, Ross, Tyler Johnson, Ohio State, then Williams, LSU, and Ryan Willie of Florida out in lane 9.
Well, Tyler Johnson of Ohio State, he really went out hard. And somebody worth mentioning as well on the inside there is Bryce Dedman. He had a fantastic 4x4 leg as they go through the 200-meter mark, and Trevor Stewart begins to make a move.
Sean Bailey of UTEP out of the race right after the start. As they come off, it's Stewart. Trevor Stewart leading off the line with Randolph Ross right there looking 1-2. But here comes Noah Williams. He always closes late, but he's not going to catch Randolph Ross. Ross is going to win it. And then it's going to be Bryce Dedman for second. And Noah Williams ends up scoring 6 for LSU, finishing third. 43-80. Always starting it off with a women's 4x100 meter relay. There are the championship and meet records, collegiate records, and we start out looking at the host team, Oregon, out in lane 7.
Host team as well as the Pac-12 champs this year, right now 4th on the collegiate list. Get this, 7 of these top in this race, 7 of these teams are in the top 10 in the world.
And inside Oregon in lane 6, the University of Southern California.
Defending champs in this event. They will be anchored by T.T. Terry, who you will see later in the 100-meter dash. Watch for her closing speed, but out in lane 8, LSU. They have the fastest time in the world. Didn't run a great prelim. Stick passing will be everything.
If they want to win this team title, a high finish here in this relay is essential for the Tigers of Baton Rouge. From the inside, Baylor, Texas, Florida State, North Carolina, A&T, Alabama, then USC, Oregon, LSU, and Houston on the outside in lane 9.
LSU out very well in lane 8. Oregon with a great baton pass.
Same for Southern California. Very even between those 3 teams, USC, LSU, Oregon. Second exchange. Excellent for Oregon.
Oregon drops the baton.
Oh my gosh. USC with a great exchange. Now LSU moving very well out in lane 8. They pass first. For LSU, Thelma Davies, the freshman, but here comes T.T. Terry. T.T. Terry trying to bring the Trojans back, and I think she did it. USC catching LSU at the line. And that is just a little taste of what the head-to-head is going to be like today all afternoon.
Woo! The closing speed of T.T. Terry is something else. And look at the headband. Fight on. That was an incredible leg.
200 separating the teams at the finish. It is Renee Taylor-Thomas in lane 2.
Akira Nugent, lane 1 from Baylor. She's still barely breathing. She just finished the 100-meter hurdles where she got 3rd. This is a tough, tough double.
Now, the schedule does not really lend itself to a 100-hurdle, 100-meter double.
This race is going to take place in the middle of the track between Nelson and Terry, at least on paper. Carol Smith-Gilbert, the head coach at USC, told me that Terry is such a leader, but not vocally. She does by example. She said, if I tell her to run through a brick wall, she'll do it.
A couple of years ago, we saw her win the 60-meter indoor title, so we know she can start.
Lane 7, Tamara Clark from Alabama has the 9th fastest time in the world. Watch out for her as well.
Good start by Terry. Better start by Cambrea Sturgis from North Carolina A&T. Now here comes Terry from behind. Can he catch Sturgis? No, it is Sturgis from North Carolina A&T. The Aggie wins it. The sophomore from Kannapolis, North Carolina, takes the 100-meter title.
Woo! 10:74. Wow! That is almost 2/10 of a personal best for Sturgis. Holy
But
moly.
the wind is over the allowable. 2.2 meters per second of trailing wind, so it will be a wind-aided mark. Just the same, number one, it's a winner.
Sugar Chateau Desserts is a specialty bakery located in the Charlotte, North Carolina metro area. We will create delicious and one-of-a-kind treats for any occasion. Sugar Chateau is currently shipping cakes in a jar, offering a variety of different flavors in a single-serve container that can help you celebrate in accordance with social distancing. Place your orders today by calling 803-526-7895 or visiting sugarchateaudesserts.com.
How they play, boy, you gon' learn today. How you say they play. How they play, yeah. We represent that swag, that MEAC. And let me say, what's up to Tennessee, stay. Tune into the
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Mike Washington's out on studio, but as we told you, as we promised, no need for talking. We let the film do it for us, and we have none other than North Carolina A&T men's and women's track and field head coach Duane Ross. We have the champions that got it done, Cambrea Sturgis, 200, 100. And then we have Duane Ross Jr. They got it done in the 4x4 as well as the 400. So everybody asked for it. You got it. We got them right here. So we're going to take a little bit of their time. We won't hold them too long, but we'll make sure we get into it. These individuals are still preparing for the next opportunity that comes up in front of them. They just got out of training. So need to make sure they get some rest and make sure they take care of themselves and get something to eat. So I'm going to start out with you, Coach. Just talk about first, how proud of you of what your team, both men's and women's, were able to accomplish this past week.
Hey, listen, extremely proud of these young men and women. I mean, they are the example of if you just believe in what you're doing, right? Believe in what you're doing, keep working hard, keep grinding, right? Then good things are going to happen. I mean, because this did not happen overnight, right? I mean, we've been talking about this day in, day out. I mean, since we started this thing, right? So they are the prime example of just stay the course and keep grinding, keep working. And they've done that. I mean, very good kids. I mean, you heard my son mention a few minutes ago, he's still doing his homework and whatnot. I mean, they stay focused, that they understand what the goal is, what our purpose is. I couldn't be any happier for them to see all of their hard work be recognized, when they perform the way they perform.
No doubt about it. As a professor, I always like to hear that when a student comes in there, hey, I spent a little extra time while I was on the road trip doing your homework. So when you're good to go, you're going to be all right in this class. Yeah. So I'm proud of you in terms of doing that. Before I pass the mic and let Charles ask, I do want to those that may not have done the homework, tell us a little bit about yourself for those that are not aware of it in terms of coming up, where you're actually from, and then your opportunity to run track yourself at a high level in terms of the Olympics and things of that nature.
So you're talking to me or to one of the?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay. Listen, I came up in a small town, Dallas, North Carolina, and I mean, just it was always encouraged to do sports, from my family and friends, and more importantly, coaches and teachers. And I had some very influential people in my life pushing me to do the right things in the classroom and and on the track. So I did that and had some success, and I ended up going to Clemson, where I ran there and did quite well there. Ran professionally for a while, went to the 2004 Olympics, and and that's my story as far as being an athlete. I don't want to take away from what the wonderful things these student athletes have done, but the fact that I've had so many people in my life always there to push me, to tell me I can do great things if I just put my mind to it. I think that has spilled over into what I try to instill in our student athletes, because they hear the same message day in and day out, that they were, born to be kings and queens of this thing. They just need to take it by the horns and believe that and go with it. So yeah, I bring a little bit of my background into this, and hopefully I'm reaching them, and hopefully one day they'll be able to reach their children, and the athletes that they're coaching, the athletes they're coaching. So it's just, we got to keep doing what we do to keep making things better for the next generation. So that is something I'm proud of.
No doubt about it. And that's the reason I wanted to ask, because I wanted you to tie in terms of the history, in terms of the current moment. It's important that we look at all those components that you're doing. Let me go to Cambrea. You just got a chance to watch yourself. Was that the first time you watched the race since you actually did it, or?
No, I just like watching it.
Kind of prepped up there. That's really good. I got excited about that. Duane Ross Jr., in terms of yourself, what about you? Do you get excited when you watch the race, or is it like done with, on to the next thing? How does that work for you?
It's still exciting seeing like the time and everything, but now it's time to get ready and focus for the next one we got going on this weekend.
I appreciate that. I can appreciate that. Charles, please jump in.
Yeah, I wanted to ask Coach Ross, and I normally ask this question, but when did you know that there was a turning point within your program where you knew you could compete on a national stage?
Well, hey, that's a great question. Let me tell you, as when I came in here in 2012, I wasn't met with a lot of encouragement from outside, our A&T environment. I mean, it was really a situation where, I was actually told that, we would fail, because when I mentioned what our goals were and whatnot. So it has been a journey, to say the less, but, we just kept grinding. I would say, I always believed in it. I always tried to instill in our staff and our kids, this is what we're going to do, even when we weren't at that point. There were some lean times early on when we were battling some good teams just within our conference. I mean, Bethune-Cookman was good. FAMU was good. Our conference really stepped up. Norfolk State, Coppin State. I mean, our conference was really exciting. So there were some times we finished second in our conference, and I'm still talking about winning NCAAs, right? And that might have been hard, for some of our student athletes or some of our supporters, to believe, that we're finishing second and still talking about winning NCAAs. But hey, the talk continued, the belief and the dream continued. So every year we got better, and that is always the plan, to do better at everything we did this year, right? Everything we did this year, to do it better next year. Recruiting, coaching, I mean, even within our office, the management, how we handle the budget, how we handle scholarships, always doing it better year after year. So I would say probably around 2017, when we had a breakthrough. And that's when we, Christopher Belcher kind of opened up the door for us. He came in and, great kid. He was just this energetic kid, all this energy, all this excitement. And when he came in, he brought that with him. And it kind of brought the other guys on the team up around him. And we had a good core when he came here. So him, Rodney Rowe, Todd Townsend, those guys really, brought an influx of energy into that program. And from there, it kind of went, then here came Kayla White, Michael Dixon, Trevor Stewart, and then, now Cambrea, and my son, Junior. I mean, so it's just been a tidal wave, of success and energy coming through. And I love these kids for it, because it makes my job easier as a coach. I'm able to sit back and watch them lead their team, because this is their team, and I tell them that this is your team, you're responsible for holding each and every one of you guys accountable. So 2017, it was the jump start here, and here we are. you know, but we still got a ways to go. You know, we hadn't reached the top yet.
No doubt, no doubt. And Cambrea, I'll start with you. I wanted to ask this question in terms of is there another level that you can push forward to from even this past level, this past weekend, where, like I told you, we sat around and watched both you and Duane Jr. in terms of what you were able to accomplish. Can you push further past where you got this past weekend?
Most definitely, I can push. This is just for college, and the next level is pro, and that's what I'm working towards.
I'm gonna stick with you, Cambrea, and then I'll let you jump back. You wanted to ask another question there in terms of follow up there, Charles? I'm sorry.
Well, no, I was going to ask Duane the same question in terms of the pushing to the next level, getting ready for the Olympic trials.
Yeah, there's always room to improve. The 400 meters is a sprint, but it's also a lot of strategy that goes in with it. So just go back, look at my race, and work from there, and hope we'll get back throughout the year.
Cambrea, I wanted to follow up and ask you another question, and I want you to think about this. I don't want you to get in trouble. You still got some years under the coach. Tell us, how do you feel being coached and learning and running under Coach Ross? Tell us a good story there. Fun story, maybe.
It's a good feeling because once I was a freshman coming in, being recruited, he told me exactly what he was going to do. As a freshman for me, you know, I was just like, all right, you know, I have to see stuff to believe it. So once I started getting into training and learning and just like knowing my events and my and myself, I, you know, believed him, and look where I'm at.
No doubt about it. I love it. To you, Duane Ross Jr., in terms of that, similar question, but obviously you're running for your dad. Tell us a little bit about how that feels. Again, you know, be careful. You got to go home. But tell us a fun story about it.
Well, coming in was a little different. You know, not everybody has a dad as a coach. There's some things like a normal athlete can get away with, and it's different for me because I got to see him every day. But when it comes to the training part, it's like Cambrea, she came in, she had to see it to believe it. Him being my father, already had the trust in him. So it was just, listening to him was already a habit from growing up. So it was just going there, do what I have to do, and the results came.
I love it. I appreciate you sharing that with me. Back to you, Coach Ross. Talk to us a little bit about what internally you get from coaching. Like you said, you experience running track and being a professional at an extremely high level. Many people don't get that opportunity. You earn that opportunity, but then something within you decided to transfer that, if you would allow me to use that, as a coach. And then you do coaching at the collegiate level, where it's both about getting the best out of young people, but also in terms of the academics. I've heard some things and studied, and I know how serious you talk about developing the entire individual, man or woman in this case both actually. So talk to us a little bit about how did that come to be and why it resonates so much.
Yeah, I think, as I mentioned before, I think a lot of that has to do with probably just my background, you know, coming up, where I just so many people, you know, pushing me in the right direction and always trying to encourage me to do things. And it wasn't easy. And when I, you know, as an 18-year-old, 17-year-old, and I've said this to my son, you know, when you're that young, you don't know the legacy you might, you know, you don't know what your legacy is going to be. You're not thinking about that. 9 times out of 10, you're not thinking about what you're going to do tomorrow. We're not. But there's always somebody behind you that can probably see more than you can see. There, that adult, that coach, that teacher who's sitting back saying, hey, you know what, this kid has a future if he just straightens up and does this. All right. So I had a lot of that in my life, man. You know, some family and you know, just always pushing me in the right direction, even when I didn't want to go in that direction. So I think a lot of that has to do with, you know, how I see, you know, my student athletes. You know, I see greatness in them And greatness doesn't always mean winning a national championship, you know, or even winning a conference championship. You know, I had a young lady here at nationals that ran on the 4x4, and you know, Peyton Russell, and I'm so proud of her because of what she's about to go on and do, you know, after this chapter of track and field is over in her life. So it is about developing the entire human being, right? And I take a lot of pride in that. You know, I've said time and time again, it's more than, you know, it's more than just winning races, you know, but I think because we have that perspective and we understand that, and we believe that, I think that contributes a lot to our success, right? That we know, hey, we're going to be the best at everything we do. And that is true. You know, that is, I'll push them academically too. I tell them I would be a hypocrite if I expected you to win a national championship out here, but tell you, oh, it's okay for you to go to the classroom and have a 2.0, right? We can't be average. I can't expect you to be above average here, right? And okay to be below average here or just average. So we don't operate like that. So one of the biggest joys I get with these student athletes is when that light bulb goes off and you can see it go off, right? When they understand it. It's not always going to happen overnight, but when they get it, that's one of the biggest joys for me. You know, seeing that light bulb go off and they're like, this is what he's been saying. Right? So
wow.
Hey, I'm passionate about it, man. Love these kids.
No doubt.
No doubt.
Coach Ross, I wanted to ask this question, and when you're talking about track and field and this, you know, highly funded, you know, brand name track and field powerhouses, you're able to dial in and find these gems to come to North Carolina A&T. What is the method to the madness, the recruiting magic in terms of how you've been able to build this track powerhouse?
Well, good question, and I'll say first off is understanding that anybody, right, when you're out here looking at these kids and recruiting, that you're never too good, right, to take a look at a kid that's not sitting, you know, up top on that list. All right, I remind myself of that all the time, and I think that's one of the things that helps us with recruiting. You know, always remember. I mean, as you mentioned, Cambrea. I mean, there's so many others that have come through here that you know I spotted when they were young. I saw Cambrea run. I think she might have been in the 9th or 10th grade, and I was like, gosh, that girl has some talent. And I told her coach at that age, I was like, listen, I'm gonna be watching that young lady because she has some talent. So yeah, I think it's, you know, I think being in the sport for so long, you know, you become able to spot talent, but also being humble enough to say, hey, you know, I got to take a student athlete who may not be the best right now and develop them and get them to believe they can be the best. Right? So, you know, we develop our student athletes. We've never been in a position where we can just print off the top 10 high schools in the country and recruit from that list. We've never been in that position, right? We've always been in a position where we recruit talent, you know, we recruit potential, you know, and we recruit good kids. Right. And I think that right there with the program we have, the coaching staff that we have, and athletes that we have, we do a great job in developing those kids and making them better, you know, getting them to realize that greatness that they might not have seen otherwise.
Thanks, Coach. That's great.
With that, let me jump back to you, Cambrea. I want to, if you would, take us into the locker room or practice days when you're out there with some of your teammates. Talk about a little bit of some of your teammates, how that feels, how exciting it is to be in a sport that focuses individually, but at the same time, there's components of the sport that is about a team effort. How do you all come together and build on that? What is that like, that experience been like with you at A&T?
With practice, even though we know we all not like the same speed, or we are stronger and weaker in some of the places, we'll push each other to our best ability. And we help each other get to that point, or make each other feel like, oh yeah, I'm up there and I can run this time, or yeah, this push off the blocks so good. And makes us help each other, but still focus on what we got to focus on.
I love that. I love that. It's a great response. Ross Jr., if you'd allow me to say it in that way, Duane, for you, talk about the team. You know, this, you did it in the 4. Then you come back and you have a chance. All right, let's do it as a team, the 4x4. You have great names. Talk about your teammates, if you would, those that you ran with, and how you all were able to successfully do this as a team in terms of the 4x4.
Well, when it comes to our 400-meter group, our whole group ranks in the top of the nation. We have Trevor, who plays fourth in the final. We have Akeem, who's going to trials for Liberia. We have Stokes that's in trials for Mexico. Our whole group is just talented. And we know when it comes to the open 4, we all might not run the same. There's different ways to run it, different patterns. Like Trevor, for instance, he likes to wait his first 200 and then push the second one, not take out the first one. So we run 2 different ways, but at practice, it all comes together. We both help each other and progress as a unit.
No doubt. I love it. It's so unique about track and field where you have your individual components and then the team components. So the way that you frame that. And I can tell afterwards the way you all celebrated how much you all together and enjoy being able to get this done as a team. So I'm going to go back to you, Coach, if you would. And I know there is the framework outside of this, and your goal is to be a champion, and which means that you need to defeat everybody, not only in individuals that you develop in terms of what you do and wanting to see them to be able to potentially go to the next level and be the best individuals they can be on the track and off the track. But there's a component of this about winning the national title. Your program, and I know different people talk about this in different ways, have come out of the stratosphere. You started us in a lot of ways where you started. But looking in the record books, and, we're talking about things we haven't seen done since the 80s and the 70s, not just for HBCUs, but for what they call the FCS programs. Obviously, the football championships are 1AA versus quote unquote other branded programs at the FBS. You were able to get this done. Talk about in a lot of ways of how you transcend, but still keep the pride of HBCU, the Aggie culture, the alumni, the support you get. Talk about unique challenges of the mix of pushing forward, of being the best of all, but also celebrating the richness of the culture that you're part about.
Yeah, that is that's a unique question. I tell you, winning a national championship, of course, isn't easy. If it was easy, everyone would have one. We do understand the challenges that comes, with trying to do that. And over the years, when we've been speaking of doing that, I mean, we know what it is. We know some schools have more. All right, a lot of schools have more. Right, we understand that. However, with our team, I never let them discuss that. Right, I never let them discuss that. Right, because guess what? You can discuss it all you want, but guess what? It's the same in life. Right, there's the haves and the have-nots, and we need to, regardless of what the situation is, right? We always have to be, trudging forward and whatnot. So that has been kind of the hallmark of our program here. That that's, the world will have us. And I made this message to my team, I think, before we went to regionals. Society and the world will have us thinking we're not successful because we don't have $50 million, all right? We only have $10 million, all right? Or, we don't have, $2 million weight room, right? They'll have us thinking that we're not successful because we don't have the same things, and that's just not so, right? We take what we have and we make it better, right? I mean, there's no time to complain. There's no time to whine about it, right? This is what we are. Instead of looking at us for what we don't have, right? Look at us for what we do have, right? Let's take that, right? And let's make the most of it. So it hasn't. So the biggest fight has been over the years has been within our competition, right? Just as good as we get, right? Just the refusal for, competition to acknowledge that, right? That narrative is changing, as we move forward, especially after this weekend. But, it's just been a situation where they want to look past that. They don't want to acknowledge, how good this program is or how good this institution is, right? Just because they don't have to. We're not. So that has been, the biggest challenge with us in building our program. But as I mentioned before, I don't let our student athletes dwell on that, right? We're here for a purpose. Let's fulfill that purpose, and everything else will fall into place. So, yeah. So I enjoy the battle as our kids do. When I first started here, it was about building a program and winning a national championship, right? That's what it was about. Getting our kids to be better at everything, winning a national championship, right? That was the goal. But as I've stayed here and continued to fight to get to that, it became a little bit more than that, right? It became more about teaching our kids how to win a national championship, right? Teaching them how to, with all the adversity, with everyone saying you can't do it, and this is why you can't do it, right? Doing it anyway. That has become the bigger mission. It's not about the trophy. It's not about winning the races, right? Our kids, their kids, our culture, everyone around needs to see how we're going to win a national championship, because it has not been easy. It's not going to be easy, but it's about how we're going to win the national championship with all the naysayers, right? And with all the criticism, and with the lack of respect that these kids have had to endure over the years. I mean, track and field is track and field. Times don't lie, results, right? But we've steadily had to fight that fight that the results can be right there in black and white in your face, and people still want to look past it. I mean, you saw that perfect example with Cambrea's race, right? In the 100 meters, right before the race. This young lady comes in, she has one of the fastest times in the world that she just ran 2 weeks prior. Right? One of the fastest times in the world that she did 2 weeks prior. And society, mainstream media, just chooses to look past that. So, as I mentioned, it becomes more about our kids learning how to win a national championship through all of that.
Wow.
No doubt about it. I really appreciate you taking the time to share that with us, because we needed to hear that, not just in terms of A&T, not just in terms of the MEAC, now in terms of the Big South, SWAC, SIAC, CIAA, HBCU, or other mid-major programs, if you want to frame it at that. But really, just in terms of the country, everybody needed to hear that, and to some degree, I'd say even the world, that you need to understand that you can do it because you put your mind to it and you seek the opportunity, you get it done.
Absolutely.
Coach, the last thing I'm gonna bring you with, and I'll come back to you, I want to give the students one other chance to really have a little fun. Give a shout out, whether it's to some friends, family, the Aggie Nation out there, hashtag Aggie Pride, hashtag HBCU Pride, because you got everybody tagging it everywhere now. I'm gonna start with you, Cambrea, and then Duane Ross Jr. I want you to be able to do the same. So this is your plug. Do what you need to do.
I'd like to give a shout out to all my teammates from high school to AAU to now. My parents, they definitely pushed me. Family, they are very supportive. My coaches from high school to AAU to now, and to all the future runners who want to as great as me, Kayla White, Shakari, you can do it if you put your mind to it and keep pushing. Don't let nobody tell you that you cannot do it.
Awesome.
Duane, your time. Your time to shine. Go ahead.
Mine's gonna go out to basically every HBCU, all the people from back from North Carolina, everybody that's believed in our school and everything we can do. Coming in, like a lot of people thought I made a mistake choosing HBCU over Power 5 schools, but just because we ain't got everything don't mean we can't do the same thing they doing. So I also like to thank my parents. Well, one of them on the phone with us, but the other one back at home, my aunts, uncles, and everybody else.
Well done, both of y'all.
Hey,
Go ahead.
Don't you forget
Aggie Pride, because you know they would kill me if we don't do that Aggie Pride. Then I'm gonna let you jump in there, Coach. Go ahead, get it Aggie Pride.
Oh, hey, can I get an Aggie Pride?
Aggie?
That's right. Aggie Pride.
Last one, Coach. I'm gonna leave it up to you. Your final parting words. What would you like to share? Again, thank you for giving this opportunity. I know your schedule is extremely busy, but you deserve this, and hopefully we gave you a chance also to bring on a couple of your students that got it done in so many different ways. So thank you for sharing this time. But take it away, Coach.
Oh, hey, well, listen, I just want to thank you guys for all the support, and really, I mean that because you guys have been here through this journey, and that's what's important. You know, it's not, oh, A&T is good. Let's come. No, and you know, I appreciate all the love and support. It just makes us want to do more and more and more. You guys don't understand how important that encouragement is to our student athletes. So I just want to thank you guys for always being there, always being supportive through those lean times. When the lean time come again, you know, that's not the plan, but it's good to know that you have, you know, people who are really in your corner and really want to see you do well regardless of the situation. So thank you guys for that.
Coach,
getting started, so it's not over. So you got us. Right. We don't support. Anytime you need to get back in, share some information. The station is open for you, and we mean that. So understand that you have a place here. We follow you. Let Charles jump in here and share some things as well.
Coach, I definitely want to say, you know, as an HBCU alum, just watching you all over the weekend perform on that national stage, couldn't be more proud. So thank you for coming on. I really appreciate everything that you brought to not only the HBCU universe, but to track and field.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Aggie Pride.
Aggie Pride.
Aggie Pride. HBCU Pride. Great job. And good luck this weekend. Bring it home and get it done.
All right.
No doubt.
That's Dr. Cavil inside the HBCU Sports Lab. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back and then we'll close the rest of the show.
I'm returning to Clinton Parish, and Tampa's my community. I grew up here, went to school here, and my wife and I make our home here. What makes Tampa special are its people. So when I represent someone injured in my community, it's personal. Call my office and speak to a real lawyer and not some referral service. I will fight the insurance companies to get the settlement that you deserve. At the law office of Clinton Parish, we take the pain out of being heard.
This is Brian Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Lab. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Lab, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
You gon' learn today how your team they play, how they play, yeah. We represent that swag, that MEAC, and let me say, what's up to Tennessee, stay, tune into the HBCU.
And we're back.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. I hope you enjoyed the interview with Coach Duane Ross Jr. and Cambrea Sturgis, really giving you some insight in terms of the program and letting you know the path that they travel. Really appreciate their time. I want to give a shout out to Mr. George Suggs, Coach George Suggs, A&T graduate. He's been keeping me up to date with a lot of information and make sure I was prepared in a lot of ways for this interview. Those other Aggie individuals out there, big man from Dallas, keeps us always support. Want to shout him out in terms of Aggie Pride and all the rest of them over in terms of our lab fans. This is for you all, the HBCU fans that actually wanted it as well. Lonnie Shaw, thank you for that, Charles. Give him a shout out and mention him and everybody else. I wanted to give you the opportunity because of you. We were able to put this together, and thank Roy for making sure that we got it done. Let me let Charles get some information and any final thoughts in general. Again, we'll be back Thursday, so we'll go into a deeper dive in terms of some other HBCU news that is just taking place for the week. We'll take a deeper dive in a lot of the areas, but we wanted to make sure that we celebrated what took place this past weekend in Eugene, Oregon. Rightfully so. You're talking about individuals that have done stuff, some things that have never been done, not just for HBCUs, not just in terms of FCS, but literally first time nationally in any areas. But in other ways, you're talking about the first time that HBCUs put on that front porch, since we said, in terms of understanding the history in the 80s, the Texas Southern women's program, men's program as well, North Carolina Central, their program. And let's not forget Division II level with St. Augustine and what they were able to do. Some of the Prairie View A&M women's program over the years as well with Coach Barbara Jackie. Little shout out. And I know there's some that I'm leaving out. That's not on purpose, certainly from the heart. Obviously, can't forget Morehouse with Moses and what he was able to do.
Oh my God, yes, sir.
Over the years.
Man.
And not because we don't have all the information or want to get to shine. Some of it is just purely because of time. But go ahead, Charles.
Well, no, I definitely wanted to another correct congratulations to North Carolina A&T for adding another chapter into the track and field lore, HBCU track and field lore. Like you mentioned, Dr. Ville, from Barbara Jacket and her Prairie View teams, St. Augustine, Texas Southern, Bullet Bob Hayes back in the day, Florida A&M. Just, I definitely just, they've added another chapter in a lot of ways, a historic chapter, if you will. So kudos to the North Carolina A&T Aggie track and field program.
Well said, Charles. Well said. With that, as Roy said, we even have Rattler smiling quietly in the background, making sure that that he was proud. And so you're doing it in a lot of ways when you get some of your most heated rivalries in a positive effect, I would say, bringing the support as well as so many other HBCUs out there. So thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends or colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Watson and Charles Bishop. We hope you enjoyed our interview again with North Carolina A&T men's and women's head track and field coach, Duane Ross, as well as his son, Duane Ross Jr. in Cambrea, Sturgis, in terms of what they were able to bring home the national champions multiple times for both of those individuals. So wanted to give them a chance and just wanted to say congratulations on that. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Bill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop every Tuesday and Thursday right here at 6 o'clock. You never know what you're going to get. We're going to find a way to give you the greatest and latest on HBCU sports, including the historical perspectives and the business. We look forward to next week as we discuss the latest news in the lab. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, that's DrKenyatta Cavil on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 on Twitter, Facebook, Inside the HBCU Sports Lab on YouTube. Greenbid, continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Also follow us on BCSN, my BCSN app, my JBN app. With that, Charles.
Of course.
Lecture, Charles.
Dismissed.
Take it away. Good job.
YT Productions.
Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won. Yeah. I hope my team they won. Yeah. Man, I hope my team they won. I hope my team they won. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson. And you gon' learn today, how your team they play, how they play, boy, you gon' learn today, how your team they play, how they play, yeah. We represent that swag, that MEAC. And let me say, what's up to Tennessee? Stay. You tune into the HBCU Sports Lab with Dr. Bill.